So I've got a theory for where World of Warcraft is heading, and I'm going to be putting on my tinfoil hat and running through those thoughts with you. And at the end of the video, you can let me know whether I'm a crazy person, whether you think there's some merit to this and this might be where things are heading, whether you think this is a good thing or a bad thing. I'll also be giving my thoughts on whether I think it's good or bad as well. But either way, sit back, take in what I'm about to say. There's going to be multiple parts of this, but they're all going to kind of be the same end goal. So let's run through and let's jump into the first thing. So there's been like a thing in motion for a while now that I've noticed. This started way back in Shadowlands actually. We added the controller support. And Blizzard obviously says here as well, this is a quote taken from them, I assume, is our focus was not to try and make WoW feel like a console game. So obviously having console support is good. It adds for more accessibility, adds for just people sitting back and chilling and being able to play on a controller. You're not going to be able to play the game to a high end really on controller. Some people have done some pretty, incredible things with a controller, but in general, the game currently isn't or wasn't made really for controller. There was a lot going on. But you have games like FF14 where the game kind of was approached with a controller first thing because it was made for PS3. Was it back then? And it was kind of made around being able to play with controller. It's kind of complex. You have to hold buttons to swap to different kind of radial menus and stuff, but it's doable. But then obviously very recently we had the new PTR come out and we had two very interesting things. First of all, assisted highlight, where it'll tell you what button you should be pressing next just to help you with your rotation, make it a lot more accessible. And then we also had the single button assist. Obviously this is aimed to be a nerfed version, which I think does kind of go against my argument here a little, but it is still a way to be able to play the game with a very little kind of skill input. You can just press one button literally over and over. The only thing you need to have extra buttons for, which won't be many of them, would be cooldowns, defensives, things like that. So you can then very easily play to a base level through a controller on a console potentially. And then we're also seeing this stuff where they're talking about like no more tracking of certain cooldowns and things like that. They're trying to push more things into the game itself. They want you to be able to want things to be a little bit more easy to approach. You have all the info you need in the game. You don't need add-ons, which is another thing towards this, right? Like if they remove the need for add-ons to be able to play at a decent level, then that means a lot more people are able to get into the game, whether they're on a platform where there might not be access to add-ons, These two things obviously definitely lean towards the direction of we may see this game on console in the future. I am definitely in team console right now for this, but hold on, there's more to this. We go deeper, don't worry. The next thing is where I think we're going to head in terms of the game's like monetization future. And I think these two things really come hand in hand. So the first thing is obviously we had the leak thing a while ago of Thunderstorm coming to the Game Pass. Now obviously WoW is owned now by Microsoft. We've seen other Blizzard games come on Microsoft Game Pass. We've seen big releases come on Microsoft Game Pass. This obviously didn't happen at the time and was probably a mistake or someone just confused or something, but kind of interesting that someone makes this and then puts it out and it's a mistake. Like, why was this being worked on in the first place? And there was another thing at the time as well, Call of Duty, Diablo, and World of Warcraft. Like, that's two interesting mistakes to have happen at the same time, right? Like, maybe it was just the same guy, maybe he was very, very confused on all of this. But I think this makes a lot of sense for WoW to be on the Game Pass. What I would see in the future is World of Warcraft being on the Game Pass, the subscription model side not being as important. I mean, we've already been able to kind of circumvent the subscription with gold. You're able to buy your monthly sub with gold, so you can play for completely free. And that's been in the game for a while. I think that's part of this motion that the subscription is eventually going to be like we make money from it. And instead, where they're really going to make the money, which you've seen from games that are completely free to play, they absolutely rake in money, right? They rake their money in from other areas, mainly microtransactions. And that's where they get their big cash influx, is from selling things at a very small price. Like if you've ever played a gacha mobile game, you'll notice they sell you these little bundles. Oh, here's a roll for like $2. Oh, here's this cosmetic for like $2.50. Oh, you can buy this little bundle for $5. And they sell you lots and lots of things. And at the time you're like, it's only $5, whatever. I'll buy this battle pass, I'll buy this thing. And within a month you realize, I spent like $50 on this. Where did my money go? Because it's these little transactions that they get you with and that's a way for them to make more than the monthly sub, right? Is if they're able to rack up these microtransactions. So that would be how I see this game ended up on the Game Pass, is we get the base game for free on the Game Pass. You get all the way up to the previous expansion. So if it was on right now, you'd have to buy the War Within still, but you could play all the way up to Dragonflight for free and you'd be able to enjoy that and explore that, blah, blah, blah. You'd have to buy the latest expansion, which we've seen as well. They have really ranked up the prices of this. We're looking at a $90 expansion for the biggest bundle now if you wanted the early access, which was a fairly big deal, you know, playing the game earlier. They said there was no power player advantage. There was. Like, let's be real. There was some kind of advantage. Did it mean much in the end? But them saying there's no advantage is just clearly not true. There was an advantage for people trying to gear. You were already leveled and ready to do, you know, the higher end content. There was a bit of an advantage that you could get keys for delves. There was an advantage for people trying to make gold. Like, there's just an advantage across the board. The Hero Edition being $70 and the base being $50. The other thing is we're probably going to be seeing expansions release faster now. They've already said, I think at BlizzCon, they said it won't be for this saga or whatever, or it won't be soon, but they are looking to get out content faster. And we're already seeing that in game now. We're seeing this patch cadence of 8 weeks, which means we probably see the next expansion in January. So that means it would be a year and a half between the expansions, and they might even pull that faster. They might try and get to a year or something. So then they'd be making a lot of money from pushing out expansions every year, a year and a half, with these higher probably scaling bundles that we're going to see. So there's going to be a lot of money behind that, especially if you're now on Game Pass. Your sub's not there, but you're throwing like $100 a year at the game through a year and a half buying the expansion. They're making pretty good money from that too. But it doesn't end there. We've also seen a big increase in the amount of bundles they've been selling in the store. If you've been a mount collector, I've been someone who kind of aggressively gone after, well, no, I don't want to say aggressively. I've gone after mounts and I've typically bought the store stuff, but this year caused me to be like, I'm not buying any more store mounts. This is getting ridiculous, because this year alone we saw obviously the Brutasaur somewhere in here. Here it is. That was like a nearly $100 mount. We saw the 30th year anniversary bundle. We saw this wolf thing. We saw the snake 6 month. At least that one isn't as bad because you just get a 6 month sub, you get the mount. So that one's not too bad. That's fine. We saw the brooms. We saw the mist thing with the cool mounts. We saw these packs of the dog things, pandas, whatever the hell these are.
What the hell is even that?
We saw the ravens. We saw this most recent one. Like, there has been hundreds of dollars worth of mounts if you're a heavy mount collector. Like, if you're someone who wants your number to be 100%, then you've had to spend hundreds of dollars in the last 6 months to stay competitive with mount collecting. And some people were like, well, if you don't want to spend the money, don't spend it, blah, blah, blah. But if that's been your entire thing in the game, like your whole thing has been, I want to have all of the mounts collected. Every time there's a new mount in the game, I'm going to work towards it. I'm going to have it collected. And now you're being thrown mounts over and over and over again. And you're like, well, I either fail on my goal I've had in the my entire time playing the game and just say I'm not going to do it, or I swipe and I buy them. You know, like it's only a niche portion of players, sure, but it still puts them in that position. So there's been, and this isn't just mounts either, there's been like cosmetics and transmogs and all this stuff that you've been able to buy that have been available in the cash store. We've seen way more than we used to. With them adding this many bundles, it clearly isn't just a coincidence that all these things are lining up at the same time, with the expansion prices increasing the cadence of patches and expansions, with them adding a bunch of store things, with them having a bunch of things for the trading post that they've not released. There is a massive backlog, and there've been some bundles that have had tendies in, right? And then very soon we're going to be getting player housing, and player housing is finally that like cherry on the top that kind of wraps this whole thing together, that makes me think, yeah, this is all going to be happening. So we're going to be getting player housing, and player housing is always seen as like mainly a casual piece of content, right? Like it's the big casual thing. Like it's the thing that casual players just want to be able to jump into, collect things, you know, upgrade, design, blah blah blah. And Blizzard's doing a pretty good job of what we've seen so far. Like there's going to be thousands of cosmetics. It's going to be available from doing like content achievements. It's going to be in the trading post. It's also going to be on the store, apparently. We'll touch on that in a moment. But this is going to be that thing that anyone can jump into. There's going to be no player power behind it so far, at least. So this is a piece of content that anyone can really enjoy. And what makes this interesting is we recently had some creators go out and test it in person, and Taliesin and Evertail said that there was a shop button. Not only just a shop button like in the menu, like press escape and go there and you'll see it there. They're putting it directly in the housing system. Like you'll open the menu to put some stuff in your house, and there's going to be a shop button right there in front of your face being like, yo, buy these things. Like there's some more things you could buy to make your house perfect. Like that thing that you really want that would make everything come together. That's in the shop. Click the button, spend $2. There you go. And what we were talking about earlier, like this would be that thing where they can kind of just slowly scrape a couple of dollars from you here and there, and it ends up building up. And player housing would be the perfect thing to have that happen. But not only that, attendees on top of this. And I think we'll see soon some aggressive kind of trading post stuff where they're going to really rake you in with the attendees. They're going to pull your attendees amount real low, and then the housing stuff's going to come out, and they're going to start releasing these bundles that have more attendees in them as well. You're like, well, I want to buy this thing that's in the trading post, but I've got no attendees left. But if I bought this house bundle, I get some stuff in my house anyway, and I get the attendees now to buy the thing that I wanted to buy in the trading post. That might not be back for 6 months. So I'm just going to do that. You know, I'm just going to spend the $12 or whatever it is. And then they get you. That's how they get you. So this is kind of what I think brings all of this together, is that there's going to be this strategy of maybe the game comes on console. I don't think that part matters too much. I think it would make sense with how they're moving with things, making the game more playable on its own without things being added on, without this complexity where you can just play. And they're going to aim more towards that target audience, that casual target audience, because that would be someone who would care about like doing the house up and playing the game casually and having a one button rotation. Like they're going to enjoy that kind of aspect. It would bring more people to the game, which is obviously a good thing. It means the game's generating more revenue, means they can do more cool stuff hopefully. And we'll talk more about my overall thoughts on how this will impact the game. I do think this is a clear sign of where we're heading, right? That we're going to see more cosmetics and bundles. We're going to see faster expansion launches. We may see the game on Game Pass and they'll just say, got it, we don't really care about the subscription revenue anymore. We're just going to aim for the mobile game kind of style where we pull in the money from microtransactions and bundles and expansion sales. Now, let's talk about what that means. Is this a good thing or a bad thing for the game? Because right now, obviously, this sounds pretty doom and gloom. Like, oh, the game's just going to become a flash credit card, pay to win, blah, blah, blah. I don't think there's ever going to be pay to win aspects. I don't think it's going to be quite like a gacha game where you need to rank up this unit that's just come out and you've got a 50-50 chance of getting it, and you have to get it 6 times to make it the best version it could ever be, and then you're super strong, and then later on it's power crept by something else that's come out. I don't think we're going to head in that direction. I think it's all going to be just purely for like the casual who just wants to buy things, swipe a few dollars here and there. Most players probably won't need to care too much. There's going to be people who will buy these bundles and will enjoy them, and they'll probably get a lot more revenue from that. That probably easily covers the subscription costs, I would imagine. But maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't know the full numbers. But I mean, with how many people bought the Brutosaur, it was like 20-25% of the player base, right? Like a lot of people bought that thing and it cost nearly $100. Like that's nearly a year subscription from one microtransaction. They just covered 1/5 of the player base with one microtransaction, you know? Like I think this is definitely something that they've been playing with and is looking to be viable for them. Is that a bad thing? I'm actually going to lean towards no. So the reason for that is obviously I think everything should be obtainable in the game. But if it's stuff that doesn't impact me, it's stuff that's just cosmetic, I don't really care about. And I'm not going to say it's all doom and gloom and we're going to quit the game and it's going to be terrible. But if we look at the move from Dragonflight to the War Within, I think the game has become better. Like if you played all of Dragonflight and you played the War Within, I think the game has become way more enjoyable. It's got a lot more hooks to kind of keep you actively playing because of this 8-month patch cadence. I'm not the biggest fan of the current time gating with the gap between 1.5 and then the visions, and then the visions being time gated. Don't think that's the direction, but that was clearly an experiment. They've said that. So hopefully they kind of iterate that a little bit and it's not as big, but I don't mind them rehashing content for it to be relevant. I think that's a completely good idea to do because this content that's been worked on should be expanded on. It shouldn't just be dumped because some of it is good, and if it had more time to it, like imagine if we actually got Visions 2.0 and it actually got built on a little bit more. There was a third map, stuff like that, like Plunderstorm. It came back again. It was the same map. People didn't really care as much. Some people did, but I think if they brought out a new map with a new bunch of cosmetics, it'd have a lot more hype. So hopefully they build on things a little bit more. I don't mind them bringing content back as long as it's expanded on, or if it's just like a little part of the patch, not like a core feature. I think the remix arcs are very, very good. Mop remix, I didn't think I'd enjoy. I had an absolute blast. I leveled like 20 characters and was doing all this stuff, and it was just felt really good. In the beginning, not so much, where they were being weird and kind of being like, no, you've got to be really weak, and no, you can't farm and stuff. And then once they kind of just let people have fun with the silly game mode, it was good. You know, it's fun. If we move forward like that as well with these remixes, with these alterations of content we've had in the past, with this faster patch cadence, I think the game will be in a pretty good spot. I mean, as I say, I do think moving from the Dragonflight to the War Within, the game has just become better. And if we continue building on that and the game does improve each time, then that's perfect. Obviously, this is an experiment for them overall, not just the time gating aspect. But I think this whole 8-week patch cadence and the faster expansions is all a bit of an experiment. So once they kind of get this down, I think they can double down on that plan and make it better. hopefully. Now, obviously there's some issues we've had in the war within, like the current patch launching in a pretty abysmal state, most of it being broken and working, other things that shouldn't even be impacted were impacted and now broken. Not too great. But if we continue to get pretty solid expansions that come out with pretty good fast patches, I don't see how that's a loss for the player base. If the cost of that is we just see more stuff in the store that we don't really have to buy, it is what it is. The game has to make money somewhere, and if we move away from it being based on the subscription and it's going to be more just cosmetic microtransaction stuff, it is what it is. Because if you play a free-to-play game, you don't really care that they're trying to make money from you from the cosmetics in the game, right? So we'd have to look at it in that sense. Obviously, you do still need to buy the expansions, but the amount of value you get from an expansion in terms of playtime doesn't really compete with any other game that you can buy on the market, right? You buy a new single-player game, and I'm sure some of these new single-player games are absolutely amazing experiences, but the average single-player game that costs like $60, you probably get like 20 hours out of it. It's all right, it's pretty good, but a expansion, you're going to get, if you're playing actively, hundreds, thousands of hours out of it. So the cost per value just doesn't compare. And if we do end up on the Game Pass, where you can just have a Game Pass monthly sub, and as long as you can still buy with gold if you want to, then it just becomes a no-brainer, right? Because the Game Pass is actually really good value. With the Game Pass recently, you're able to play Oblivion, you were able to play that Expedition 33, you were able to play the new Doom. Just that 1 month alone, the amount of value you got for your like $10 was insane. So if WoW is on that as well, and you're basically getting the other aspects for free, quote unquote, it's kind of a no-brainer, you know? Like I would sign up to that, and then I'd have some other games to play when I'm not interested in playing WoW for that week or month. So overall, I don't think this is a bad thing, and maybe this whole kind of tinfoil hat arc, I'm completely wrong, and none of this is the direction the game's going in at all, so we don't even need to consider or worry about this. But if it does go this way and things get improved on, I won't be upset. I'm just gonna step away and admit, like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to buy all the store mounts anymore. Let's hope they come on the trading post one day and I can buy them there instead. Well, then maybe I have no attendees and we can't do that either. Who knows? I don't think it's doom and gloom. I think it's potentially a positive for the game moving forward, hopefully. Now, they could just go full villain arc and it becomes abysmal and everything's about microtransactions and then the content gets worse. If those two things happen, like the game gets worse and it's more heavily monetized and maybe even player power comes into play or something dumb, then we're hitting the arc where it's like, well, this is terrible. This is a terrible decision. The game's probably going to go downhill. But that is not going to be their goal. Like, they don't want people to not play the game. They want to make as much money as possible with as many players as possible. So hopefully what they're doing now is positive. We'll see. But let me know, one, if you think my thoughts and theories and stuff like that are correct, that they're on the mark. And two, if you think this will be terrible for the game or you think it'll be good. Because obviously this is just my perspective on how I play the game. But some of you guys are going to play differently. You may swipe quite often and buy all the cosmetics and you want to have that aspect, or maybe you don't care for that and it's a good thing, or maybe you'll just get annoyed by the fact that there is so many cosmetics and you feel bad that you can't just earn them in game. I don't know. Let me know from your perspective what you think, whether I'm right and whether you think this is good or bad. Hopefully we get a bit of a discussion on the go. Maybe I'll revisit this when we've got some more thoughts and opinions. But either way, thanks for watching me waffle and rant about this potential stuff that's happening. Look out for more guides coming soon, or videos, or whatever, live streams, whatever we're doing on this channel. See ya.